The stars had never seen anything like the Zephyrian Grand Fleet. 12,000 warships floated in perfect formation across the dark space of the Nexus system. Each ship gleamed with the metal of distant worlds and pulsed with energy that could burn entire planets to ash. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. His tall, crystal-like body reflected the blue light from the control panels around him. He had commanded fleets for over 300 years, and in all that time, no enemy had ever made him feel anything but certain victory. Today would be no different. The fleet around him was the most powerful force the galaxy had ever seen. 47 different alien races had sent their best ships and their finest warriors. The massive Corthan dreadnoughts, built from metal taken from dead neutron stars, stretched 15 kilometers from front to back. Their hulls could withstand the heat of a sun without even getting warm. The sleek Vrex cruisers danced between the larger ships like silver fish in an ocean of steel. Their energy shields could turn away any weapon the galaxy had ever created. The shields shimmered with rainbow colors that hurt to look at directly. Above them all floated the Mindari command vessels, their surfaces smooth and white like giant pearls. Inside those ships, the telepathic Mindari could speak to every captain, in the fleet without using radios or any technology at all. When the Mindari gave orders, 12,000 ships could move as one mind. Commander Zalthi of the Corthan Third Fleet checked his displays for the 100th time that day. Everything was perfect. Every ship was in exactly the right place. Every weapon was charged and ready. Every shield was running at full power. The humans would arrive soon, and when they did, they would see what real power looked like. Zalthi had read the intelligence reports about Earth and its people. The humans were young, barely out of their home system. Their biggest warships were only 2 kilometers long. They still used chemical rockets to move between planets. Their weapons were simple nuclear bombs and basic laser cannons. It was almost sad, really. The humans had no idea what they were flying into. The scout ships had been watching Earth for months. The humans had only one warship capable of traveling between stars, just one ship against 12,000. The human leaders must have been desperate to send such a small force to meet the Grand Fleet. Lieutenant Velran looked up from his communication station. His forearms moved quickly over the control panels as data flowed across his screens. "Sir, we are getting readings from the edge of the system. Something is coming." Admiral Vextar turned his attention to the main display screen. A small dot of light appeared at the very edge of the star system, millions of kilometers away. As they watched, the dot grew brighter and began moving toward them. "Distance?" Vexatar asked. 50 million kilometers and closing, Velran replied. "Speed is..." "Sir, this is strange. The ship is not using any drive system we recognize. No ion trails, no gravity waves, no exotic matter signatures. It is just moving." Vextar felt a small flicker of curiosity. In his long career, he had seen every type of faster-than-light travel the galaxy had to offer. Dimensional folding, space compression, quantum tunneling, even primitive wormhole generation. But this was something new. "Show me the ship," he ordered. The main screen zoomed in on the approaching vessel. The human warship was smaller than expected, perhaps 3 kilometers long and half a kilometer wide. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, with no decorations or bright lights. It looked like a piece of metal that had been shaped for war and nothing else. "Ugly little thing," commented Captain Mordak from the Vrex 2nd Squadron. His voice came through the communication system with a slight electronic buzz. "Are we sure this is their best warship?" Admiral Vextar studied the human vessel more carefully. Something about it bothered him, though he could not say what. The ship had no obvious weapons that he could see. No massive gun turrets like the Corthan ships carried. No energy projectors like the Vrex preferred. No missile pods like his own Zephyrian vessels used. But there was something in the way it moved through space, something that spoke of confidence and purpose. The human ship was not running away or trying to hide. It was coming straight toward the center of the Grand Fleet formation, as if 12,000 enemy warships meant nothing to it. "Sir," Velran said, "the human ship is sending a message. Put it on screen." The display changed to show the inside of the human ship. The bridge was small and cramped compared to the spacious command centers of Confederation vessels. The lighting was harsh white instead of the soft, colored glows that most civilized species preferred. A human male sat in the captain's chair. He was not particularly large or impressive looking. His hair was brown and cut short. His uniform was simple blue fabric with no jewels or precious metals. He looked like someone who spent his time working instead of attending ceremonies, but his eyes were calm and steady, and when he spoke, his voice carried no fear at all. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Nations Starship Redemption. We come in peace, but we are prepared to defend ourselves if necessary." Several of the alien commanders laughed. The idea that one small ship could defend itself against the Grand Fleet was amusing. Admiral Vextar silenced them with a gesture. "Captain Morrison," Vexitar said, "I am Admiral Vexitar of the Zephyrian Galactic Confederation. You and your people have been selected to join our community of civilized worlds. You will surrender your vessel immediately and prepare to be escorted to a processing facility." The human captain tilted his head slightly, as if considering the words. "That is a generous offer, Admiral, but we will have to decline. Humanity prefers to remain independent." "You misunderstand," Vextar replied, his voice becoming harder. "This is not a request. Your primitive world and its single warship cannot stand against the combined might of 47 civilizations. You have 1 hour to surrender. If you refuse, we will destroy your ship and then visit your homeworld to teach your people the price of defiance." Captain Morrison nodded slowly. "I see. In that case, Admiral, I should probably mention that you are about to learn something new about warfare. Something that might surprise you." The communication ended, leaving the Grand Fleet commanders staring at a blank screen. Admiral Vex Tar felt a strange chill run through his crystal body. There had been something in the human's voice. Not fear or desperation, but something else. Something that reminded him of the way a predator might sound just before it struck. He shook off the feeling. One ship against 12,000. The humans were either very brave or very foolish. In an hour, it would not matter which. The Defiant reached 30 kilometers from the alien fleet before War Prince Zethkar's sensors finally noticed them. By then, it was too late for the Zarathi to react properly. "Now, Sam!" Jake shouted into his communicator. In the engine room, Sam activated his modifications. The fusion reactors roared to life with power that should have been impossible. Energy flowed through systems in ways that violated every safety rule ever written. The old destroyer suddenly moved like a rocket fired from the hand of an angry god. The ship's acceleration pushed everyone back into their seats. Warning lights flashed everywhere. Alarms screamed throughout the Defiant. But the ship held together and kept moving faster and faster. "Holy Mother of Space!" Pete gasped as he watched his speed readings climb. "We're doing speeds that should tear the ship apart." On the alien flagship, chaos erupted in the command center. "War Prince, that human vessel just increased speed by 400%. Its energy output is beyond our calculations." Zethkar stood up from his command throne, his 4 eyes wide with shock. "What did you say?" "The primitive ship is accelerating directly toward us. Current speed suggests impact. In 90 seconds. Impossible," Zethkar snarled. "Human technology cannot achieve such performance. Destroy it immediately." The nearest Zarathi ships turned their weapons toward the approaching Defiant. Beams of energy that could melt mountains reached out toward the small human destroyer. But Sam's modifications had done more than just increase speed. The ship's shields now drew power directly from the overloaded reactors. The first alien energy blast hit the Defiant's shields and scattered like water hitting a rock. The second blast did the same. The third blast actually made the shield stronger by feeding extra energy into Sam's makeshift power grid. Impossible, Amy breathed as she watched her shield readings. Those weapons should have destroyed us 3 times over. Sam's turned us into something new, Jake said with pride. Something they've never seen before. The Defiant continued its charge toward the heart of the alien formation. Jake had chosen his target carefully. Not the biggest ship, but the most important one. The flagship where War Prince Zethkar commanded his invasion force. Distance to target, 20 kilometers, Pete called out. Amy, prepare all weapons, Jake ordered. Amy's hands moved over her controls. Torpedoes armed and ready, railguns charged to maximum power. Captain, at this range we can't miss. The Zarathi ships around the flagship began firing desperately at the approaching human vessel. But the Defiant was moving too fast, and its shields were absorbing too much damage. Nothing they did seemed to slow it down. 10 kilometers, Pete announced. War Prince Zethkar watched in horror as the primitive human ship closed the distance to his flagship. All ships, concentrate fire on that vessel. Stop it before it reaches us. Dozens of alien ships turned their weapons on the Defiant. The space around the destroyer filled with deadly energy beams and explosive missiles. But Jake had timed everything perfectly. They were too close to the flagship for the other ships to fire safely without risking damage to their own command vessel. 5 kilometers, Pete said. Fire all weapons, Jake commanded. Amy pressed her firing controls and the Defiant unleashed everything it had. Nuclear torpedoes streaked toward the alien flagship. Railgun projectiles moving at incredible speed punched through space. Energy beams powered by Sam's overloaded reactors blazed with the light of small suns. The alien flagship's shields flared and sparked as they tried to absorb the unexpected assault. But the Zarathi had never faced weapons powered by human desperation and engineering genius. The shields failed one by one. The first torpedo struck the flagship's hull and exploded with nuclear fire. The second torpedo hit the command section where War Prince Zethkar stood. The railgun projectiles punched holes through armor that was supposed to be indestructible, but Jake was not finished. Sam, prepare for ramming speed. Are you insane? Lisa shouted. That will destroy us too. Maybe, Jake said calmly. But it will definitely destroy them. In the engine room, Sam understood what his captain wanted. He had one more modification ready. One last surprise for the aliens who thought humans were weak and primitive. Ready when you are, Captain. Sam's voice came over the communicator. The Defiant aimed itself directly at the damaged flagship. At the last possible second, Jake gave the order. Now, Sam, do it now. Sam triggered an explosion that separated the front half of the Defiant from the back half. The front section, carrying the ship's main armory and a nuclear warhead, continued on its collision course with the alien flagship. The back section, with most of the crew, changed direction and moved away from the impact zone. War Prince Zethkar had just enough time to understand what was happening before the front half of the human destroyer punched through his ship's hull, like a spear. The nuclear warhead inside the Defiant's separated section exploded deep within the flagship. The alien command ship broke apart in a ball of nuclear fire. War Prince Zethkar and his entire command staff died instantly. The explosion was so bright that ships throughout the fleet had to shield their sensors to avoid damage. The surviving crew of the Defiant in the ship's rear section found themselves surrounded by hundreds of angry alien vessels. Without engines or weapons, they could only wait for the revenge that would surely come. But something unexpected happened instead. The alien fleet began to fall apart. Without War Prince Zethkar to give orders, the Zarathi commanders did not know what to do. Their rigid military system depended on clear chains of command. With the supreme leader dead, Chaos spread through their ranks. Some ships wanted to continue the attack on Proxima Colony. Others wanted to retreat and report the disaster to their home world. Still others wanted to hunt down and destroy the remaining piece of the human ship. Jake watched from his damaged bridge as the alien fleet argued with itself. "Pete, can you understand what they're saying?" Pete worked with his translation systems. "They're fighting about who should take command now. No one wants to make decisions without orders from above." Lisa looked at the tactical display showing hundreds of alien ships in confusion. "We actually did it. We stopped them." "We did more than stop them," Amy said with amazement. "We scared them." Dr. Miller came onto the bridge to check on the crew. "Everyone seems to be alive, Captain. Bruised and shaken, but alive." Jake nodded and looked at the broken alien fleet. The ship everyone ignored had just changed the course of galactic history, and they were not done yet. Sam Parker worked in the engine room like a man with a fever. His hands moved quickly over controls and cables. Sweat ran down his face even though the room was cold. He had been planning this for months, but now he had to make it all work perfectly. There would be no second chances. "Computer bypass safety protocol 77 Alpha," Sam said to the ship's main computer. The computer's voice sounded worried, if a computer could be worried. "Warning. Bypassing that protocol could result in reactor explosion." "Yeah, I know," Sam said. "Do it anyway." Red lights began flashing in the engine room. Warning sounds filled the air. Sam ignored them all. He opened panels that were supposed to stay closed. He connected wires that were supposed to stay apart. He turned the Defiant's fusion reactors into something that would have scared the engineers who built them. On the bridge, Jake felt the ship change. The floor vibrated differently. The lights got brighter. Even the air seemed to hum with new energy. "Captain," Amy said from her weapons station, "I'm reading power levels I've never seen before. Sam's really done something down there." Pete looked up from his sensors. "Sir, the alien fleet is still heading for Proxima, but I'm picking up something else. They're scanning the colony, taking detailed readings of the population and infrastructure. They're planning how to take it apart," Lisa said quietly. Jake nodded. The Zarathi were not here to destroy everything. They wanted to keep the useful parts, the factories, the power plants, the people who could work as slaves. It made them even more dangerous because it meant they were smart and organized. Dr. Miller came onto the bridge carrying a medical kit. "Captain, I've prepared the medical bay for casualties. But honestly, if we go up against that fleet, medical care might not matter much." "I know, Kate," Jake said. "But we have to try." Amy had been studying the alien formation on her tactical display. "Sir, I think I see something. Their ships are arranged in what looks like a dominance pattern. The biggest ship is in the center, surrounded by layers of smaller ships. It's designed to show power and intimidate enemies." "What does that mean for us?" Jake asked. "It means they're so confident that they're not even trying to protect their weak spots. Look here." Amy pointed to her screen. "Their flanks are barely guarded. They think nothing could threaten them from the sides." Jake studied the display. Amy was right. The Zarathi fleet moved like a parade, not like a military formation expecting trouble. Their arrogance might be the one thing that could help the Defiant. Sam's voice came over the communication system. "Captain, modifications are complete. I need to warn you, though. When I engage the new systems, this ship is going to move like nothing you've ever experienced, and we'll only have about 10 minutes before everything burns out or explodes." 10 minutes to save 2 million people, Jake said. "It'll have to be enough." Pete suddenly sat up straight at his station. "Captain, I'm intercepting alien communications. My computer is translating what they're saying." "Put it on speaker," Jake ordered. Strange voices filled the bridge, speaking in clicks and hisses that the computer turned into human words. "War Prince Zethkar, we approach the human settlement. Shall we begin the standard bombardment pattern?" Another voice, deeper and more commanding, replied. "No. Scan first. Identify the most useful facilities and population centers. We will take what serves the Dominion and eliminate the rest. What about resistance, Warprince? The alien leader made a sound that the computer translated as laughter. From humans? Our intelligence reports show they have no significant military presence in this system. A few patrol ships at most. Nothing that could threaten even our smallest vessels. Jake felt anger burning in his chest. The Zarathi had studied humans and decided they were weak. They thought human lives were worth nothing. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. All hands, prepare for combat acceleration, Jake announced to the ship. This is going to be rough. The Defiant began its approach toward the alien fleet. Jake had chosen a path that would bring them in from behind and below, using a large asteroid field for cover. The rocks would hide their energy signature until they were close enough to strike. Distance to target? Jake asked. 80 kilometers, and closing, Pete replied. Still no sign they've detected us. The alien ships grew larger on the main screen. Up close, they were even more impressive and terrifying. Their hulls seemed to ripple with energy. Weapon ports glowed with deadly light. The largest ship, the one carrying War Prince Zethkar, looked like it could crack planets in half. Amy checked her weapons one more time. Torpedoes loaded and ready. Railguns charged to maximum power thanks to Sam's modifications. Captain, once we fire, they'll all know where we are. I understand, Jake said. We get one good shot, then we have to make the most of it. Lisa was studying the tactical display. Sir, even if we destroy their flagship, there are still hundreds of other ships. They'll tear us apart in seconds. Jake looked at his crew. These people who had been forgotten by everyone else. These people who were about to do something impossible. Maybe, Jake said. But sometimes one good shot is all it takes to change everything. The Defiant continued its silent approach. In the engine room, Sam watched his modified reactors pushing power through systems that were never meant to handle such loads. On the bridge, the crew prepared for a battle they could not win against an enemy that outnumbered them 300-1. 50 kilometers, Pete reported. On the alien flagship, War Prince Zethkar studied reports about the human colony. 2 million slaves would serve the Dominion well. Their technology was primitive, but their bodies were strong. They would work in the mines and factories until they died, then be replaced by slaves from the next conquered world. War Prince, his sensor operator said. I detect a small energy signature approaching from Grid 77. It appears to be a single vessel. Zethkar barely looked up from his reports. Probably a patrol ship coming to investigate. When it gets closer, destroy it. Do not let it delay our schedule. Should we send fighters to intercept? For one primitive human ship? Zethkar made the clicking sound that meant amusement. Our main guns will be more than sufficient. That dismissive attitude would be the last mistake War Prince Zethkar ever made. The space around the Liberty and Defiance was filled with the wreckage of 12 alien warships. Pieces of biometal drifted past the windows like dead leaves in a cosmic wind. The living vessels that had seemed so powerful just minutes before were now silent hulks, their bioluminescent patterns forever dark. Jake Morrison stood on the Liberty's bridge, still trying to process what he had witnessed. The battle had been so one-sided it barely deserved the name. The Defiance had destroyed an entire alien fleet with the efficiency of a farmer harvesting wheat. Captain Walsh, Jake said into the communication system. Permission to come aboard. Your ship? I think we need to talk. Granted, Captain Morrison. Bay 7 is opening for your shuttle. Bring Ambassador Carter if she's able to travel. Lisa Carter touched the bandage on her forehead where the falling debris had cut her. I'm fine, Captain. And yes, I very much want to meet the people who just saved humanity. An hour later, Jake and Lisa found themselves aboard the UES Defiance. The ship's corridors were wide and functional, built for efficiency rather than beauty. The walls were lined with metal that seemed to absorb sound, making their footsteps echo strangely. Captain Troy Walsh met them in the main conference room. He was a tall man with gray hair and quiet eyes that seemed to see everything. His uniform was black with silver trim, and he moved with the confidence of someone who had commanded ships in real battles. "Captain Morrison, Ambassador Carter," he said, shaking their hands. "Welcome aboard the Defiance. I wish we could have met under better circumstances." "Captain Walsh," Lisa said, "I have to ask, where did this ship come from? Earth Command never mentioned anything like this in my briefings." Walsh gestured for them to sit at a long table made of polished metal. "That's because Earth Command doesn't know about ships like this one. We're part of a different organization." "What organization?" Jake asked. "Deep Space Defense. We've been building ships like the Defiance for 20 years, ever since we first detected alien signals from this part of space." Lisa leaned forward. 20 years? But first contact only happened today." "Official first contact, Ambassador. We've been watching the Zephyrians for 2 decades. We knew they were out here, and we knew what they were like. Every signal we intercepted told us they were predators who saw other species as food." Walsh stood and walked to a wall display showing a map of local space. Red dots marked Zephyrian territory, while blue dots showed human colonies. "They've been studying us, too, learning our weaknesses, planning their harvest. We couldn't let that happen." "So you built warships in secret," Jake said. "We built everything in secret. Ships, weapons, defensive platforms, all hidden from public view because we knew that if humanity was going to survive contact with species like the Zephyrians, we needed to be ready for war." A door slid open, and 3 more officers entered the room. Walsh introduced them as Admiral Patricia Cruz, Commander Luke Johnson, and Dr. Rachel Brown. All wore the same black uniforms with silver trim. Admiral Cruz was a small woman with sharp eyes and graying hair pulled back in a tight bun. "Captain Morrison, your diplomatic mission served an important purpose. It showed the galaxy that humanity prefers peace. But it also showed them what happens when that preference is ignored," Commander Johnson added. He was younger than the others, with dark skin and the build of someone who spent time in combat training. Dr. Brown opened a tablet and showed them data streams. "We've been monitoring Zephyrian communications for years. They have a network that spans dozens of star systems. Within hours of this battle, every Zephyrian outpost will know what happened here." "Is that good or bad?" Lisa asked. "Both," Walsh replied. "Bad because they'll be angry. Good because they'll also be afraid." Jake studied the star map on the wall. "How many ships like the Defiance do you have?" "Enough," Admiral Cruz said simply. "The Defiance is our newest and most powerful, but she has sisters, all hidden in deep space, all ready to respond when humanity is threatened." "The Zephyrians called your ship a death singer," Lisa said. "What did they mean?" Walsh smiled for the first time since they'd met. "The engine sound. Our faster-than-light drives create gravitational waves that produce that thrumming noise. Ancient predator species like the Zephyrians have genetic memories of something they call void hunters, mythical ships that supposedly hunted their ancestors long ago." "Mythical?" Jake asked. "Not mythical," Dr. Brown corrected. "Historical. We found references to void hunters in the ruins of several extinct civilizations. Ships that appeared when predator species got too aggressive, too destructive. Ships that restored balance to the galaxy." Commander Johnson leaned back in his chair. "The funny thing is, those void hunters were probably human too, or at least built by humans. The technology signatures match our deep space construction methods." "You're saying humans have been out here before?" Lisa looked confused. "We're saying the galaxy has seen humanity before, even if we don't remember it ourselves," Walsh explained. "Lost colonies, generation ships that left Earth centuries ago and forgot their origins. The pattern repeats, predators rise, prey species suffer, And then the Void Hunters appear to set things right. A soft chime sounded, and a new voice spoke over the ship's communication system. "Captain Walsh to the bridge. We're receiving long-range transmissions." Walsh stood. "Excuse me for a moment, this might be important." He returned 10 minutes later with a satisfied expression. "The word is spreading faster than we expected. 3 Zephyrian fleets have already changed course away from human space. Apparently, the Death Singers have returned, and they remember what that means." "So this is over?" Jake asked. "This battle is over, but the larger conflict is just beginning. There are other predator species out there, other empires built on conquest and slavery. They'll all want to test humanity now, to see if we're really as dangerous as the Zephyrians are claiming." Admiral Cruz activated the wall display, showing dozens of star systems marked in different colors. "Our intelligence networks are already picking up chatter. The hegemony of Talax is mobilizing a scouting fleet. The Devourers have started moving ships toward our border. The flesh markets are offering bounties for live human specimens." Flesh markets. Lisa's face went pale. "Exactly what they sound like, Ambassador. Slavers who trade in sentient beings." Jake felt a chill. "How many enemies do we have out here?" "All of them," Commander Johnson said bluntly. "Every species that survives by preying on others will see humanity as either a threat to eliminate or a prize to claim. There's no middle ground." Walsh returned to his seat. "But that's why ships like the Defiance exist. Humanity learned long ago that the price of peace is the willingness to fight for it. We've been preparing for this war since we first looked up at the stars and wondered what was waiting for us out here." "War?" Lisa asked. "But surely some species will choose diplomacy." "Some will," Dr. Brown agreed, "but only after they understand the alternative. Peace comes from strength, Ambassador. Always has, always will." The conference room fell quiet, except for the deep thrumming of the Defiance's engines. That sound was already spreading across the galaxy through hyperspace communications and survivor reports. Soon, every civilization would know that the Void Hunters had returned. Jake looked out the conference room window at the debris field where the Zephyrian fleet had died. "What happens to us now? The Liberty and her crew?" "You go home, Captain," Walsh said. "You tell Earth Command that first contact was successful. You don't mention the Defiance or Deep Space Defense unless they ask directly. And if they do ask, then you tell them the truth. That humanity has been preparing for this day for longer than anyone realized. That we hoped for peace, but were ready for war. And that the galaxy is about to learn the difference between diplomacy and surrender." Admiral Cruz stood. "Captain Morrison, Ambassador Carter, thank you for your service today. Your willingness to face the unknown made this moment possible." As they prepared to return to the Liberty, Walsh had one final message. "Tell Earth that the age of hiding is over. Humanity has announced itself to the galaxy, and the galaxy has responded. Now we find out who our friends are and who our enemies are." Jake and Lisa returned to the Liberty through the same docking bay, but everything felt different now. The small diplomatic vessel seemed fragile compared to the massive warship that protected it. As they prepared to return to Earth, Jake watched the Defiance disappear into hyperspace. The last thing he saw was the glow of its engines, that thrumming sound that had become the galaxy's new nightmare. The laughter had stopped. The real conversation was just beginning. The next 2 hours passed slowly on the Defiant. Pete Williams worked at his station trying to get better readings on the unknown ships. His screens showed more and more contacts as they got closer. The numbers kept growing. 200 ships. Then 300, then more. "Captain," Pete called out, "I'm getting clearer readings now. These ships are huge. The biggest ones are larger than anything we have, and they're all moving in perfect formation." Jake stood behind Pete, watching the screen. The dots moved across the display like a swarm of insects. But these insects were made of metal and carried weapons that could destroy planets. Any response to our signals? Jake asked. Nothing, sir. I've tried everything. Different frequencies, different languages, even mathematical sequences. They're not talking. Lisa came over to look at the screen. Maybe they can't understand us. Maybe they're just lost. Sam Parker laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Ships don't travel in formations like that unless they're going to war. And they don't ignore communication attempts unless they don't care what anyone thinks. Dr. Kate Miller had come up from the medical bay. She was a small woman with gray hair who had seen many battles in her time. How bad is it, Captain? Jake pointed at the screen. 300 ships heading for a colony with no defenses. 2 million people who don't even know what's coming. Kate nodded slowly. And us. And us, Jake agreed. Amy Foster had been quiet at her weapons station. Now she spoke up. Sir, I've been running combat simulations. Even if we had the newest weapons and the best shields, we couldn't fight more than 10 of those ships at once. And that's being very hopeful. What about hit-and-run attacks? Lisa asked. Strike fast and disappear? Amy shook her head. We're too slow. Our engines are good, but not that good. Once they see us, they'll catch us. Sam had been thinking while the others talked. Maybe we don't need to outrun them. Maybe we just need to surprise them. What do you mean? Jake asked. Sam's eyes lit up with an idea. Well, Captain, remember those modifications I mentioned? I've been working on something that could give us an edge. It's risky, but it might work. Before Sam could explain more, Pete's station started making loud warning sounds. Captain, they're coming out of hyperspace. I can see them now. The main screen changed to show what Pete's sensors were detecting. In the distance, space itself seemed to bend and twist. Then ships began to appear. First 1, then 10, then hundreds. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. Their hulls were smooth and curved like living things. They glowed with energy that made them look like metal stars. My God, Lisa whispered. They're magnificent. The largest ship was in the center of the formation. It was over 1 kilometer long and covered with weapons. Smaller ships surrounded it like guards protecting a king. The whole fleet moved forward with purpose and confidence. Jake felt his heart sink. These were not lost explorers. These were conquerors. Ships built for war and destruction. Ships that had probably done this many times before to other planets and other people. Pete, any idea what race they are? Jake asked. Pete worked with his computers, comparing what he saw to the database of known alien species. I think they're Zarathi, sir. We don't know much about them. Just rumors from traders and explorers. They're supposed to be very advanced and very aggressive. How aggressive? Dr. Miller asked. The stories say they've conquered 17 different star systems in the last 100 years. They take what they want and turn the survivors into slaves. The bridge became very quiet. Everyone understood what that meant for Proxima Colony. For 2 million innocent people who were going about their normal lives, not knowing that death was coming for them. Jake made his decision. All hands, battle stations, this is not a drill. Alarms began to sound throughout the ship. People ran to their positions. Weapons were powered up. Shields were activated. The Defiant prepared for war. Sam, tell me about these modifications of yours, Jake said. Sam grinned, but his eyes were serious. I've been playing with the fusion reactors, Captain. Bypassing, safety systems, rerouting power flow, that sort of thing. I can make this old ship move faster and hit harder than anything the designers ever imagined. What's the catch? Lisa asked. Well, there's a good chance the whole ship will explode, and if it doesn't explode, the engines will probably burn out after a few minutes. But for those few minutes, will be something special. Amy looked up from her weapons console. What about our guns? Can you give them more power too? Already done, Sam said proudly. I've been storing extra energy in hidden capacitors for months. When you fire our weapons now, they'll hit 3 times harder than normal. Of course, we can only do it a few times before the whole system overloads." Jake looked around at his crew. These people who had been cast aside by the Navy. These people who were not good enough for the important ships. These people who were about to attempt something impossible. "Here's what we're going to do," Jake said. "We're going to get as close as we can to that fleet. We're going to hit them as hard as we can. And we're going to make them remember that humans don't give up without a fight." "Sir," Pete said, "I'm detecting energy buildups on the alien ships. I think they're charging weapons." On the screen, the Zarathi fleet continued toward Proxima Colony. Their ships moved like they owned the universe, like nothing could stop them. Like the small human destroyer watching them from the shadows was not even worth noticing. That would be their mistake. "Distance to Proxima?" Jake asked. 4 hours at their current speed," Pete replied. "Time for our message to reach Earth? 16 hours." Jake nodded. No help was coming. It was just them against an armada. "Sam, start your modifications. Amy, prepare all weapons. Lisa, plot a course that will bring us in behind their formation. Pete, keep monitoring their communications. Maybe we can learn something useful." "Yes, sir," they all replied. The Defiant began to move. Its old engines hummed with new power as Sam's modifications took effect. The ship that everyone ignored was about to become the ship that no one could forget. Jake looked at the alien fleet on his screen. Soon, they would learn what it meant to threaten human families. Soon, they would discover that the galaxy's most dangerous predators were not the ones with the biggest teeth or the strongest armor. They were the ones who fought for something they loved more than their own lives.